Super Mario Bros. Saved the video game industry. I mean, really, Rob the Robot did, but let's not worry about that. I have a lot of personal connection with this franchise. I've been a fan of Mario since I was really young. Back when my first exposure to the series was Super Mario 64, Super Mario Advance, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. I'd continue to play his new games as I grew older, and thanks to the Wii Virtual Console, I would also get to experience Mario's oldest adventures. I want to say I was roughly 9 years old when I got to play Super Mario Bros. For the first time, and by God, did I suck at it? I mean, I still suck at the game, to be, honest. Before we get into things, though, a bit of background first. Mario came from the arcade game Donkey Kong, where he was originally a carpenter named Jumpman. The game was made by Shigeru Miyamoto. This man is a legend in the video games industry. Not only did he make Mario and Donkey Kong, but Pikmin, Star Fox, F-Zero, Zelda. He even had a hand in getting other Nintendo franchises off the ground like Kirby and Pokemon. Anywho, after making Donkey Kong and its sequel, Donkey Kong Jr., he would make an arcade game solely focusing on Mario and his newly introduced brother, Luigi. This, of course, would be Mario Bros., the only Mario game where the plumbers are actually doing plumbing work? Sort of? In 1985, Nintendo would release the next game for the Italian plumber called Super Mario Bros. It was a vast departure from anything that Donkey Kong or the arcade Mario Bros. Had the plumber doing. Rather than being an arcade score-based platformer, Super Mario Bros. Was a 32-level adventure across the Mushroom Kingdom. The game was a hit for Nintendo's console, the Famicom. Coincidentally, at the same time, Nintendo was wanting to bring the Famicom outside of Japan. They tried this before. Originally, they were going to partner with Atari, until Atari got pissed at Nintendo for giving the home console port rights for Donkey Kong to their competitor Coleco. Then Nintendo tried this on their own with the Advanced Video System. It was a redesign of the Famicom made specifically for the West, and despite receiving high praise, it got a whopping total of 0 pre-orders. They then redesigned the console to look like a VHS player, called it an entertainment system, and told distributors and partners that we swear it isn't a video game console, it's just an electronic toy for kids. The console had several games available at launch, and sure enough, one of those was Super Mario Bros. It was the best-selling Famicom game at the time, so it was a no-brainer that it would be available for the US market at launch. Nintendo managed to replicate Mario's Japanese popularity in North America rather well. The game would later be bundled with the NES and would even go on to become the highest-selling game of all time, until Wii Sports decades later. Now the game sits at 9th place, with games like Tetris, Minecraft, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe all outselling it. Even still, 58 million copies is an insane number and nothing to scoff at. This series has rarely seen a mediocre game. Hell, I don't think there is a bad mainline Mario game, which I think speaks to the talent of Nintendo's developers. The company may do scumming things when it comes to fan projects and how it treats its fans just poorly in general, but I feel it's important to separate Nintendo the corporation from Nintendo the game developer. Super Mario Bros. Turns 40 next year, and boy am I one excited bitch. I think it's fitting to talk about what I think about the game over 4 decades later as my own way to celebrate this game and its legacy. Does this game hold up? There's only one way to find out. This is my review of Super Mario Bros. Let's get this show on the road. I miss when games would just start. Whoa there, you eager beaver. There are options on this title screen. Upon starting the game, you're given 2 options, a 1-player game and a 2-player game. There's not really much else to it, although 2-player is the only way to see Luigi. His default coloring in this game is what would later go on to become his Fire Flower outfit. I just think that's interesting. I'll get into the details of this game's multiplayer later. For now, let's just get into the plot summary. King Koopa, aka Bowser, has kidnapped the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom, Princess Peach Toadstool. Mario and Luigi journey to Bowser's many castles across the land in order to rescue the princess. And that's it. What did you expect? Some grand, sprawling story? It's a Mario game. We don't actually see an honest-to-God plot in this series until Galaxy 1 on the Wii. Every Mario game is usually some variation of this plotline. The plot of a Mario game is never important, and if you don't like that, you best go play something else. The real reason to play these games is the game of these video games. For the record, if it wasn't clear enough already, but I'm playing this via the Switch Online service, and if you've never played this game before, then it's absolutely a fine way to play it. You get save states and a built-in rewind feature. It's nice until you get into a loop of dying, you know, rewinding back a second and then falling to your death again. It gets kind of frustrating, but also funny at the same time. Mario's controls are simple enough. The D-pad moves him left to right, you can hold down to crouch when you're Big Mario, the A button makes Mario jump, and you hold the B button to run. Moving Mario through a level feels pretty good. Although you should know that Mario does have some momentum to him, so it takes him a second before he reaches his max speed. This also goes the other way. Mario will keep moving on his own for a bit if you let go of the D-pad, and holding back on the D-pad will cause him to slow down, but also makes him skid for a bit, which if you're not careful can cause Mario to slide off a platform and fall to his death. Progression in this game is simple. Just move Mario from left to right, point A to point B. All you need to do is maneuver Mario to the flagpole at the end of each level while dodging obstacles. These can range from level objects like blocks, pipes, floating platforms, or avoiding bottomless pits, to the various minions of Bowser's army who can mostly be taken care of by a well-placed head stomp, save for piranha plants. Sprinkled throughout every level in the game are power-ups that are here to aid Mario. The Super Mushroom makes Mario grow big in size and also gives him an additional hit against enemies. If you already have a Super Mushroom, then the Fire Flower will spawn in places where the mushroom normally would. The Fire Flower allows Mario to shoot fireballs to defeat enemies. It won't work on enemies with extra protections like Buzzy Beetles, for example. Lastly is the Starman, which grants Mario temporary invincibility, allowing him to plow through enemies with ease. Power-ups can only protect Mario so much, though. Getting hit as either Big or Fire Mario will turn Mario back into Small Mario, and one more hit in that state will cause Mario to die. Upon starting the game, you only have 3 lives. That's 3 attempts across the whole game to beat it, and if you lose all your lives, your ass gets booted back to the title screen, and there are no continues, my friend. Unless you hold the A button upon getting a game over, in which case the game then lets you start at the beginning of the world you died in. Fortunately, there are many ways to gain extra lives, either by finding hidden 1-up mushrooms that are hidden throughout the whole game, collecting 100 coins, or jumping consecutively on enemies without landing on the floor. There is a 1-up trick to do this in World 3, but I constantly fuck it up. There are various level types that you'll encounter throughout your quest to save the princess. It's not all just ground levels. Every once in a while, a level will take place underground. These definitely feel more claustrophobic than the above-ground levels. There are these treetop levels that are over a constant bottomless pit, so be sure not to slip and fall off of these. The underwater levels in this game just suck. Okay, so when underwater, Mario can't stomp on enemies to defeat them, meaning your only way of dealing with enemies is the Fire Flower. But if you don't have the Fire Flower, you're out of luck. Lastly are the castle levels that are at the end of each world. These places want Mario dead with spinning fire bars and lava bubbles that jump out of the lava that can snipe Mario. There are various members of Bowser's army that you'll encounter throughout your quest. Goombas just walk back and forth and are by far the easiest enemy to deal with. Koopas will retract into their shells when stomped on, which Mario can then kick to take care of other enemies. Just be careful with the shells though, because if they hit a solid object, they will bounce back and they can kill Mario. There are various types of Koopas as well, some that will fly and some that are smart enough to not walk off of platforms. Bullet bills will shoot out of these cannons and will travel in a straight line, even passing through solid objects. There are some aquatic enemies as well. Cheap Cheeps will swim through water levels, but they can also jump at you in these bridge levels. Bloopers will do their absolute damnedest to position themselves above Mario. These guys can seriously trap you if you aren't careful in avoiding them. Lastly are the Hammer Brothers, and I hate Hammer Brothers in this game. They're near impossible to jump on, so you just gotta run past them and hope that the game's RNG doesn't make them jump into you. Like, sometimes I'll be able to get past Hammer Brothers with no issue, but then other times I just get held up by them, and it's like, come on, dude, I'm trying to go here. The big bad himself, Bowser, is the only boss enemy in this game. He's always on a bridge that's over a pit of lava with an axe behind him that you need to get that will collapse the bridge, causing him to fall into the lava. Bowser will jump around and shoot fire out of his mouth as his means to attack Mario. Starting around World 6, he'll begin throwing a barrage of hammers as well. This is, of course, an early NES game, so expect that jank to be in full force here. Like, sometimes I'll just barely clip the side of an enemy's hitbox, causing me to either power down or die, or... The fuck? Alright. Shit, sometimes if you aren't careful, you can just straight up clip through walls. Here I am doing it intentionally to show off the minus world, a glitch world that is just 2-2 repeating endlessly on itself. Also, I have a small question. Why is it when you're too close to the bottom of the screen and the water levels, Mario just gives up? I understand there's like a vortex sucking him down, but seriously, what's this about? This game is by no means long. A full playthrough should only take you, say, 40 minutes. But what if you didn't want to sit here and replay the whole game endlessly and just want to see the ending as fast as possible? Well, hidden in specific areas are these warp zones that can warp you to specific worlds. Hell, if you know what you're doing, you can take a path that will take you directly to World 8 and beat the game in like 10 minutes. Speed may not be Mario's thing, but in spite of that, this is one of the most popular games to speedrun. Speedrunners have this game down to just 4 minutes and 54 seconds, which is insane to think that this game could be beaten that quickly. Getting back to the task at hand, once Mario clears a castle at the end of a world, he'll find a lonely Toad, who informs Mario that the princess is in another castle. This will be the case for the first 7 castles. It's only when Mario defeats Bowser in World 8 that he finally rescues the princess, who thanks him and presents him with a new quest. After being booted back to the title screen, you'll find that you now have a world select, meaning you can just go straight back to World 8 if you want. The new quest that the princess mentions, however, is just this game's hard mode. All Goombas are replaced with Buzzy Beetles, all enemies move faster, and there are a few more additions that make the game harder, but those are the main 2 you're likely to notice. I misspelled Buzzy Beetles. Just swap the Z's with S's, and yeah. There are some things that I did notice upon this most recent playthrough. Like, some levels are just straight up repeats of previous levels with more enemies. World 7-2 is just 2-2, 7-3 is 2-3, 5-3 is 1-3 with bullet bills added to the mix, and 6-4, I mean, come on, it's just 1-4 again. It kinda reminds me of the NES Metroid, only not as, you know, awful with its copy and paste level design. I suppose this was done to save on cartridge space. Here's a fun fact for you. This game is roughly 32 kilobytes. In a day and age where we now measure game file sizes in the hundreds of gigabytes, 32 kilobytes is tiny. Because it is. Multiplayer in this game is kinda bad. Players take turns since it's not possible to have simultaneous multiplayer in this game, which is fine, that's not the bad part. What is the bad part is that the turn switches when a player dies. Say you're invited to a friend's house and you play this game together, but you aren't familiar with it, so you die pretty fast. You then take a backseat as you watch your friend beat the whole game in front of you in like 10 minutes because they felt like flexing that day. Shit, you'd probably never want to play the game again after that. This is the only Mario game to handle multiplayer this way to my knowledge. Future games either have it so that the turn switch happens after clearing a level or dying, or have simultaneous co-op so that the turns just aren't an issue. Lastly, this game brought us the main theme for the entire franchise. Koji Kondo was tasked with making a theme that would be catchy, but never get tiring or stale, since it would be playing through 70% of the game. And I mean, yeah, I think it's safe to say that he succeeded and then some. The rest of the songs in this game have also become mainstays of the series, except the castle theme, which is just the sound I make with my lips when I get bored out of my mind. And that is Super Mario Bros. For you. It's a small game by today's standards, for sure, but that doesn't mean it's bad, no. In fact, I think this game outshines some of the later Mario games. Talk about an excellent start for the series. Ignoring some of the aforementioned jank, the game can be a solid, fun time for anyone. I would definitely say that this game has aged well. I highly recommend giving this game a shot if you haven't already. It is an excellent example of 8-bit 2D game design. With all of that said, I hope you have a fantastic day or night. Peace.